Looking ahead to the draft, who's on your board, Will? Is there a drop-off after the top three?
So I have been pivoting myself to doing more draft preparation because the NCAA tournament's coming up. The Raps are obviously looking ahead to the draft themselves. So I've taken a closer look at Cooper Flagg, Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper, VJ Edgecombe, Trey Johnson, and Kamal Malok. I feel like those are the top six right now. Probably Kasparis is number 7. That's the point guard from Illinois. So I'll look at a little bit more into him after this. But those are the 6 guys that I've taken a look at, I guess, this weekend. I mean, Cooper is clearly in a class of his own. This is the number one reason why everyone in the league is tanking. I think beyond that point, I'm looking at it from the Raptors' perspective. Like, if the Raptors ultimately end up with, like, let's say they stay where they are at the 5, or they even have somebody jump up and they're now down at 6, I really wouldn't mind them taking Kamal Maluach. I know it's not sexy. There's not, like, really, like, you don't look at his game and you see star potential. But I feel like a 7'2" center with a 7'5" wingspan, a 9'8" standing reach, who has some mobility, like, that's basically the measurements that, like, Rudy Gobert had. You know what I mean? And I feel like, it's not sexy to be like, oh, we might get Rudy Gobert after all this tanking. But it's like at a key position for the Raptors where they actually need bigs in their pipeline. They don't have a young big in their pipeline. I feel like it addresses positional need. There's actually a clear path for minutes because, all due respect to Orlando Robinson or Jonathan Mobo, those guys should not be our backup center. And then he actually has a pretty good skill set. Like, he obviously is pretty much a dunker right now, pretty much a roller right now, but he has decent hands. He's shooting over 70% on the season. At one point, he was shooting over 80% from the field. He is a good free throw shooter, which I think is a pretty promising sign of his touch for a big man. I think he probably has ambitions long term to stretch it out to 3, to shoot him a little bit of mid-range, to maybe hit some corner threes. Pretty much every big in the world has that kind of ambition now, but at least there's a good sign of potential there with him shooting 80% from the foul line. And then he makes a real defensive impact, man. I think the quickest way for a young team to go from being, in a tanking race to actually being a factor in a playoff race is by improving their defense. And you look at a team right now that's doing the exact same thing with the Detroit Pistons. Now, that one's different. They've drafted primarily to get young defenders in there, like Jalen Duren, like Asar Thompson. And so those guys are really clicking together now. But they brought in some vets, and they've improved their defense. And now look at them. They're literally going to contend for top 6 right now, which is really impressive. I think Toronto probably wants to make a similar jump next year. And, with a healthy Ingram, with a healthy Scotty, with a healthy all those other guys, without the actual burden to lose down the stretch too, without the actual outright tanking maneuvers, I think there's a real chance of that. But I think that they need to improve their defense first and foremost. And one of the best ways to improve your defense is to bring in a really good defensive prospect. And, a rookie is probably not going to change your life that much defensively. It's hard to remember the last rookie that came in and just, like, completely changed their whole team's fortune defensively, outside of Wemby, who is an alien, and Kamal Maluach is not an alien. But yeah, I wouldn't mind that at all for the Raptors. Of course, if the Raptors jump up higher, I don't think you should take them above, like, Ace Bailey. I think that there's too much star potential there that you have to at least try it, man. Like, if you're in the position and you're number 2 or number 3 in this draft, I know Ace has some. He's not a polished player. He certainly has difficulty creating separation. He seems to really rely on difficult shot making. But on the flip side, he has more of an ability to make difficult shots in this draft than any other player. Maybe Trey Johnson, who's also a really good scorer, has a bit of that for going for him as well, which is great. But, like, Ace is 6'9", 6'10" freakish athlete. The slim, lithe body to be able to sort of, like, glide around on the court. The stuff just looks crazy, man. He's just able to operate in tight spaces on the baseline. When he's attacking one-on-one, he's able to score in a phone booth. He's able to be a baseline out of bounds player for you in terms of as a target there. He can shoot the 3. He can hit the mid-range. He can finish at the rim. He just doesn't get there enough. I feel like when he gets stronger and gets put into more of a system rather than just have yourself create everything, I think that's different. I mean, one way that I think Ace has, like, struggled versus a guy like Cooper, for example, is Cooper's in a great Duke team. That team has a lot of pieces, a lot of talent, and they play a really great system. So Cooper doesn't have to do everything all the time, and he can sort of, like, pick and choose more of his spots. Ace plays on a Rutgers team that is basically just him and Dylan Harper playing ISO the whole game. And so obviously that's going to hurt your numbers. I feel like that you put him in a different context, a different setting. You take some of the pressure off of him too, because you probably bring him off the bench. You know, you have Ingram, you have RJ, you have Scotty. That's already 3 starting wings for you. So you can actually sort of bring him along slowly, but he can be that successor option. There's real start potential with Ace. So I like him a lot. Obviously the downsides is that it doesn't create separation, not a willing passer. You know, kind of has to like learn how to play winning basketball. But again, like you're talking about with a rookie. What you're looking at is their potential first and foremost. So if I had like top 3 fits for the Raptors, those are 3 of the guys. I wouldn't mind VJ Edgecombe either. He's got crazy athleticism. For me, he's just kind of small. He's just like, he's crazy athletic. Like, I wouldn't say Russell Westbrook-esque athletics, but like he's maybe like young Bradley Beal level athletic. So like he's a good athlete, but he's like 6'2", 6'3". I don't buy that he's like 6'5" or whatever. The outside shot is coming around the last couple of months, so that's been good for him. He definitely needs it as well, but that guy's a really electric athlete. He's probably my 4th option here, but that's 1, 2, 3, 4 for me.